The universal being, the second lexicon. The universal being is everything substance and non-substance. Mankind's anthropocentrical interests quickly make man tire of revelations about time and space. Man prefers to hear of himself and the world he inhabits. Thus, the second lexicon is about earthlings and their place in the continuum. Space and place. There is space and time continuum, from here to spheres beyond dark Pluto, to hell and back through black holes. There is extent, expanse, and more. While earthlings, between two poles, migrate towards the torrid zones, in split domains of country, land, of province, state, canton, shire, nations swarm, republics spawn, kingdoms come and empires go. England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, they are one, but they are four. There is rustic, rural man, of the clods, of the sticks, provincial, pastoral, countrified, hickish, boorish, and farmerish. And there is urban civic man, of the suburbs, of the slums, burgle man hived in glass, where nothing unobserved can pass. Location, situation, and place. Some strike root, plant themselves. Some drop anchor, hang their caps, set up house, settle down. Displaced, misplaced, dislocated. Some are square pegs in round holes. Some will never roost or nest. They're out of joint with the world. There is a presence, an omnipresence that permeates and overruns. It haunts and hangs around like mist, but never scares or chills. It's always absent, non-attendant, playing hooky without leave. It's always nowhere to be found, out of sight, never here. It lives, it habitates, it dwells, quarters, billets, rooms and berths. It camps, it bivouacs, it roughs, where man's not fit enough. It's nice to be indigenous, native. Citizenship domesticates. It's hard being naturalized, adopted, tamed, and broken by a populous people public, incumbent, local tenants folk, with their slang, wog and dago, for those newcomers making homes. Homes and lodgings, digs and bedsits, abodes and hovels, huts and shacks, homes and dives, dumps and dog holes, with pigsties out the back. Nooks, corners, crannies, niches, cold water flats, single ends, a commode as a bathroom beneath a folding bed, where bag, basket, bucket, basin, pot, pan, cup and ladle, bottle, cask, case and can collect unwashed to be discarded, with their contents packed, loaded in a van and lugged out to the dump, abandoned. Towns are ringed by muck. Town and country, parkland. Cities roly-poly plump, beefy, tubby, rotund, gross, bulky, massive, ponderous, vast, oversized and overlarge. Hamlets, teeny-weeny, midge, pee-wee, itsy-bitsy, wisp, pint-sized, puny, tom-tit, petite, smaller than a mustard seed. Towns enlarge, expand, increase, spread, sprawl, span and stretch, pot-bellied to the furthest shores, bloated, forth they gassy swell. Nature in the way contracts, shrinks, shrivels, withers, wastes, till compressed, condensed, it puckers and gets strangled altogether. Wilds distant, far remote, one stride from the back beyond, as far as east is from west, to where the parkland spreads. That's where I love to go, not near, not next to a town, not two hoops, not a holler, not a stone's throw, one bit closer. Give me space, remove and break, let gap and gorge and gulf divide, keep the town and country rift. Where's the harm in that? Urban worlds. There is length, extent, and distance, measure, span, reach, and stretch, the footage of 2 steps trodden as limbs are dragged along. There is shortness, brief and curt, extent reduced, abridged, curtailed, the beeline that cuts a corner, quick and sweet and cruel. There is breadth, width, expanse, wide and wondrous as the world, broad-arched like a church with beam that's vast and side. There is narrowness and closeness, an isthmus just a hair's breadth off, a leanness that jaws and weakens to leave a brink of brick. There is filament, fibre, thread, cord and line to web the earth, to strip, spill, spin and shred a white sky for the dead. Wide worlds. There are hills, downs, moors, bare steeps where desolation stalks, Alps on Alps, sun-bright summits, high monuments topped by hummocks. There are the lowlands, the fens, wetlands where marsh birds wade, moss on moss, neat level grasses, wart-hung banks where water passes. There are sand flats, shoals and bars, ripple wrung and driftwood skimmed, where root and wrack at ebb tide reefed, where fleet shell creatures creep. There is the deep, the ocean bottom, the bosom of the bathysphere, draught and draught, depths unfathomed, below the shelf and shallows. Tip-top, icing on the peak, apex, zenith, apogee, there is crest, crown and cap, paramount above the sea. Nadir, bedrock, base and built on, the underbellied nether side, the fundamental primal hard pan that pours the magma out. Erect, unreading, to rise aplomb, palisade, cliff and crag, volcano stands square, endways steep, sheer rampant to the sky. Human worlds. There is prairie, there is plain, flat as a board or bowling green, flat as a pancake, a billiard table, flat as the belly of a skate, where weeping willows pendant droop, soundless as a sunflower nodding, pencil like a fuchsia dangling, or gargoyle from a cornice hanging, of buttress, brace and mainstay, above rostrum pulpit stage, great locust standi on terra firma, hid beneath roofs of slate. Shaft of ash, stave of maple, rod of birch, staff of oak, stalk of round, stick of hazel, jam, spar, stanchion, post, stand beside, run abreast, correspond, match, equate, co-extend in such a way they collinate and collimate, while outside at a slant, a tilt, slew, skew, askance, awry, kitty-cornered, catawamptus, churchyards guard the sky. Head over heels and bottoms up, the soil turns and somersaults. Who can say if fingers clutch to keep headstones t'other way up? Processions reach the intersection, the traverse of the thorpeways round, the cross point and the carry four, where whipple trees plough the earth. Weave of braid, plait and pleat, work with weft of wreath, intertwining, interlacing, interthreading strands of grief, sewn together, seamed together, funeral by a fine drawn stitch, until the cloth wears and rents and the flowers fade unpicked. Inner worlds. There is surface, there is outside, face, facet, the great outdoors, the open wide, wild alfresco beyond the starry glow. There is recess, there is inness, the herein, therein, the whole, within the inside of the keep, of the inner core, at the hub, at the centre, at the focal point, the kernel, midmost at the heart, the navel, the nucleus sheathed and levelled, into endless tier and stratum, layers, beds, belts and zones, laminated, furfuraceous, multiplied a zillionfold. Natural worlds. There's nature wrapped in a coating, skin, scale, shell and tuft, human, snake, crab and bird, muff, sloth, scab and fluff. If this is skin-deep information, desquamation might be learning. Endomatic might be clever, but it's dressing on the mutton. Where's the grizzle of the wisdom, the silvery livery of advanced age? There's many wanton riddle ringlets and cataracts of names. You can tux nature, tart it up, dress it in best bib and tucker, but strip the Sunday gadrags, and what have you got? Nudity, nakedness, the all together, the state of nature in the raw. Does nature start in spring or begin with the fall? Round and round the seasons go, backdrop to the hinterland. The stage is set mise en scene, the elements hot and cold. There is no known termination, limit to the stint of days. Nature is precise, exact, not partial, nor halfway. Colliding worlds. There are features, outlines, contours, where sea meets sky, shore meets bay, where brow and brim and ledge and edge may brink and rim the same. Woods enclose and hills shut out, and fields hem in, hedge in the towns, cloistered, closed, confined at first, towns have grown to fence the world. But only twixt the Thames and Severn, and Hampshire east to worn out Kent, for only north beyond old Derby is there some wild country left. There is Scotland, some of Wales, the Pennines and a few odd lakes, and Northern Ireland wild and windswept, where nature's on the game. What snoop would choose to intrude in or trespass on these barren lands? The usual things to cock a snoot with less than half a heart. For there are those against, opposed to weeds and nature as it is, vis-a-vis, they tame the wilds till cities grow and towns collide. Changing worlds. At the fore is the farmer, in the vanguard are his cows, in the front line are his sheep, keeping nature down. At the rear gnaws the cities, coming up the trails of tar, through the towns and ribbon villages growing side by side. Back to back, house to house, from valley head to river mouth, night lights lamp the wilderness of sea mist and hill cloud. Yet through a clockwise tick of time, through a starboard tack of tide, through a dexterous turn and twitch, through a right-handed twist, through a flinger out of bounds, through a southpaw rout of bouts, sinister things may come about, then switch around, no doubt. Cities. There is structure of a kind, prefab house, skyscraper tower, This is the anatomy of cities, as formed in most minds. Persistent, true to form, cast, mould, impression, pattern. Leicester, Coventry, or Swansea, are they differently fashioned? Some may say they are formless, featureless, and amorphic, and pity the citizens of these cities living in their rough-hewn diamonds. Some cities are well proportioned, Lancaster, York, and St Andrews, symmetrically balanced, well favoured, trim, neat, clean, and comely. Some cities are thrawn, distorted, Stoke, Bradford, Leeds, Dundee, defaced, disfigured by industry, misgotten by business folly. Some cities are straight-lined, even with streets unswerving for a mile. Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Glasgow, the Scottish straight-cut style. Some cities angle off akimbo, sharp-cornered veer at every turn. Newcastle, Liverpool, and Bristol through nook and fork and coin. Some cities curve and circle, Durham, Bath, Exeter, and Lincoln, cestus sashed the loop and hoop about their own circumference. Convoluted, winding, twisting, Birmingham meanders crinkled, in tortured whirl it rolls and curls, corkscrews on the Midland soil. Rotund and gobbler London splats itself about its hinterland, the ice cream cone of British towns drips upon the countryside. These bulging, swelling cities creep towards Mull and Ness and Spit. It makes me dream of coral reefs and lands far from this. Give me a cave, a subterranean lair, a burrow underground, a subway tunnel to a hole that opens on the wild. Opens on thorn, bramble, briar, fern, nettle, thistle, barred. I'll run the gaff of dale and coombe to escape the city drab. The dull, blunt-edged city and life. Turn, turn, the grey walls cry. Run, run, the toothless mumble at those who march on past. Unbroken slip the buildings, walls smooth and made of glass. Slick and sleek and most discreet shine the glossy, polished banks. Rough and shaggy, coarse, unkempt, against the grain, not unlike I, you might take the washboard road that some already tramp. That's the score of the notch and nick, one coxcomb less won't be missed. The city's got folks enough to keep it on the turn. In the rut, the well-worn groove, trans trough, ditch and gutter, white carved chisel, gash, gouge yourself in much further. In the fold, tuck and gallard, by a bank for a mortgage, wrinkled crease, purse crumpled, to exit with what you've borrowed. This is the passage to the chasm, the break into the yawning rift, split, slit, crack and fissure, no opening to a wild valley, where banks are grass, bracken sloped, where nature borrows time from summer, where life is rock and fern and stream, and cities are a distant bother. People in motion, outer motion. People in motion, movement and shift, course, career, passage, flow, travel over distant lands for those who are on the go. Stillness, quiet, peace, repose, resting calm on shipped oars. Most people sleep, do not snore enough to rock the boat. Scamper, scud, scuttle, spurt, the swift and swallow lightning dart, under press of stream and fission, hell-bent are people driven, like a snail slow as death, and easing off a creep, a crawl. Life ain't so fast, is said by those content to draw. En route, transit, on the wing, on the high road mid-progress. Some are always on the move, on the run, and not secure, on the transfer, car to bus, train to plane, truck to van. Some are hitching round the world and never looking back. On the wander, roving, roaming, traipsing, gadding on alone, nomadic, vagrant, knowledge seekers, drifting hobos, fancy free. Some were bums and birds of passage, knights of the road and lazarones. Some pilgrims, hajjis, sadhus, immigrants and refugees. Some flee the land, run the wind, voyage the sea, ship to ship, leg the world port to port, and never sleep ashore. Here's to these Galungi men, lascars, tars and devil dogs, jacks and pipes and metalots steering full ahead. On in ships, spars of steel, on in splinters dug from soil, buoyed upon the bob of nature and bound less by nautic favour. Others sail the blue beyond, fly, wing, ride the skies, soar, drift, hover, cruise, and touch down where they can. These aeronauts, these aeroplanists, these birdmen and these aviatrix jet the world, then they're back, well before they're missed. On in jets, on in choppers, above the cloud to higher spheres, where fighter planes loop the loop, clear of surface gazers. On in rockets, spaceships, shuttles, some are trying to get to Mars. We know, however, that these seekers are very few, of course. On through space, on through systems, beyond the dusk of solar light, cosmic rays and blackout whites, who'd be a hobo now. Inner motion. People impulsed, impelled, forced, thrust, pushed, prodded, shoved, elbowed, shouldered, butted, punched, do what others want. On the rebound, on the bounce, some people flinch, whinge and cringe, shy and dodge, duck and kick, and bite at everything. At the fore, propelled and driven, some draw bead on ambition, pepper, pelt, pump, pick off, let fly and never slacken. Others straining, dragged and tow, left behind they pull together, take the rope, snaked and ravelled, and choke those to the fore. Some lever, pry for advantage, reeling those who take the bait, handspike in their flapping catches and overlock their brains. By attraction, by allurement, by the power of adult awe, others lure the unattached with magnetic draw. Others sent about their business, repelled, repulsed, chased away, kept at length, never learn charm or wit or grace. Direct motion. What direction shall I take? Shall I drift or take a course? Most have been north or south, but few have reached the pole. Perhaps it's easy to digress, lose one's way and go adrift, double back, get sidetracked, deviate and go astray. Perhaps it's hard to head the dance, go in the van, lead the way, shine the light, be the guide, get out and set the pace. Perhaps it's fine to follow on, swallow dust, bring up the rear, tag along beyond the heels, join the trail of hanger-ons. Perhaps it's hard to make headway, make up leeway, make up time, fight one's way, forge ahead and strides through the crowd. Perhaps it's hard to veer around, turn a heel and face about, retrace one step, fall behind and turn one's back upon the world. Perhaps it's all to do with chance, with some advance, get ahead, draw near enough to gaining on the get at things they're dreaming of. Perhaps it's all to do with luck, let some diminish, fade away, draw in the horns, then withdraw, retire with their dreams still born. Perhaps it's hard to come together, come to a focus, to a point where folk can meet, unite together, and fall in with converging thought. Perhaps it's easy to diverge, fly off, go off at a tangent, take different roads at the crossroads, take separate tracks at every fork. Perhaps it's hard to achieve arrival, get there safe, reach one's end, attain one's goal, check in fit, and know the journey's end is home. Perhaps it's hard to take departure, with sending off the last adieu, the leave take and the shoving off, the come again and the keep in touch. Perhaps it's fine to make an entrance, set foot in, come breezing in, make way into lovers' beds and penetrate the minds of friends. Perhaps it's time to make an exit, bow out, run off, go abroad, leave our lover weeping loudly, desert a friend owed some dole. Perhaps it's down to introductions, the squeezing in, the cramming in of things inserted in our nature that often surface on a whim. Perhaps it's all these things removed, pulled up, plucked out, raked away, extracted from a better being, rooted up and left decaying. Perhaps it's how we are received, taken in, absorbed, installed, given all entries full report, and let them find the door. Essential motion. Let people feast and wet their whistles, lick and smell and do their duty, eat their fill, break bread, dine, with no will for wailing down. Let people cheer and creature comfort without resort to short commons. Bring on the victuals and the tucker so they might toast their mothers. Let folk sup and spoon with regime. Let them knife and fork with diet, and take their nourishment complete to alkali their acids. For folk eject, expose, disgorge, with a puke or retch or heave, all that is no good to them. Discharging they defecate, like Tories at election, who fly the red flag once a month, bear the trots in midsummer, and flush their flux and passions. For folk secrete and lactate much, saliva with a spit or slaver, which might be due to hormones, glands, or churning guts. For people find themselves infringed, infested, ravaged by the plague, rod roughshod over, beset, invaded, or run by countless things. People in motion. People in motion, falling short, coming to nothing, fizzling out, found to be lacking, going amiss, slumping and not making their grade. People in motion, outwardly mobile, climbing the ladder, scaling the heights. Best be careful and watch for the snakes at the head of the slide to decline. Descent is a dropping, a tumble and fall, a slumping as the world gathers on, a sag when you discover the snakes weren't your friends at all. People in motion, rampant, exalted like poppies paraded every November. Often elevators reach the top story before return again to the ground. Lower than oaks, hewing for timber, lower than beech, felled by high winds, lower than elm, pulled down disease. People in motion can sink. Hippity hop, skip, jump and vault, high hurdlers can be leapfrogged on, pounced upon, bobbed and tripped, sprung upon, left standing still. People in motion in the water, people in motion brought to scuttle, people in motion sent to the bottom, people in motion in Davy Jones' locker. While round and around the waters turn, winding and twisting as the current runs, put a girdle around the world, with those in motion falter at all. For things in twirl and reel and spin, rotate, revolve, gyrate, wheel, like a horse in the field, tethered up and left to feed. If this is the evolutionary growth, progress through advancing time, are we blossom still unfolding, opening up to flower? To and fro people go with the flourish, font a wave, people in motion, back and forth, move through every day. I am not petrified, stirred, disturbed, why quiver like an ashen leaf? I live quite on my own amidst the things